Welcome. Thank you so much for coming to spend time with me. My name is Lenora Edwards. I know there are a lot of great speakers, especially at this time. So I'm super excited that you are all here. And welcome to the art of mastering positive self-talk, and also known as how to stop negative self-talk. And that being said, what brought you here? What do you want to learn today? Anybody's welcome to shout it out. Anything I've got. Oh boy, we got a loaded bat belt over here, let me tell you. What else would you guys like to know? What's something important to you about positive self-talk or how to stop negative self-talk? Yes. Using it with athletes. That's a great one. Absolutely. Yeah. And what was your name? Thank you, Mick, very much. Anybody else? What would you like to learn?
I'm curious what angle or strategy.
What angle? I will use at the topic at hand. Great one. And with athletes. Anybody else?
No longer being more of a jerk to myself than I would be to anyone else.
No longer being more of a jerk to myself than to anyone else. Well, I love where everybody's at. This is a great, great thing. If I told you that you were able to master the art of how you talk and how to train your inner dialogue, what might that do for you? How important is that to you? It would shift everything, absolutely. If I was able to teach you how to do this for yourself in 5 minutes or less, what might your life look like? I'm loving the sound effects. I could not agree more, absolutely. So what I'm going to share with you today are 3 key lessons that help me stop negative self-talk, as well as my biggest mistake. And I'm extraordinarily excited to share this with you because back in December, I had a TEDx talk and it was on this very topic. So you guys get a little bit of that plus so much more, which is great because everybody loves how to figure this out. So when I'm sharing this information with you, I want you to notice what other things might you be able to do as you master this skill. And you might be thinking, yeah, you know what, my self-talk is pretty good, and that's okay. That's great. I'm thrilled for you. But I guarantee that you know at least 3 people who need to hear this. And if I could teach you how to help them, just imagine how much better their life could be by sharing what you learn here today. So as the 3 key lessons, you're probably wondering, how did I start to learn this? Once upon a time, I believe I did hit record, so you can double check it. I did. 4 minutes away.
I'd like to introduce to you my favorite Facebook friend, other than you guys. Lenora Edwards, extraordinaire, the world famous.
Voice lady.
Big mistake.
Scribble that one out.
I appreciate you either way. Thank you. This is the other one. Master the art of positive self-talk. There you go. That'll work out. It's great. It's great. So once upon a time, I found myself sitting in the dentist chair going through the very lengthy and pricey process of getting my second false tooth. Has anyone ever been to the dentist? You can probably imagine this is not a fun procedure. The reason I was sitting in that dentist chair is part of what made me who I am today. It was the direct result of an eating disorder. Struggle that sadly many may find relatable, whether through personal experience or someone they know. Over the many years that I experienced this, I hid this beautifully from my family, my friends, my colleagues, along with relentless anxiety and an inner dialogue that had become so vicious, I could barely tolerate being inside my own head. Now that day, as I was sitting in the dentist chair, the voices in my head were louder than the dentist joke. One voice was screaming at me, reminding me how stupid I was, how pathetic I was, what a failure I was. And the other voice was doing wild amounts of math, reminding me of the countless hours and thousands of dollars I had invested into self-help material, trying to help myself. Yet for all that time, all that money, all that effort invested, I was still stuck. And things were getting worse. Because now I was losing my teeth. And you might be wondering to yourself, you can raise your hand, I'm not offended at all, why didn't she ask for help sooner? For me, going back a number of years, the academic world was always a struggle for me. And when I was 12 years old, my parents had me meet the school psychologist. And after a number of hours of testing, they determined that I was considered and diagnosed with a learning disability. From that point on, I was matched with tutors and teachers of all kinds. And I noticed very quickly that none of my friends needed the same support. To me, it meant not only that I was not smart, I was also stupid. This continued until I was magically made my way into a sophomore year at East Stroudsburg, where I was meeting yet again another December day, another tutor. And as I was standing there, waiting for another tutor, the minutes ticked by. And as they did, I started noticing and getting angrier and angrier that I needed this much help. Are you kidding me? I needed this much help. I thought about it and I said, enough. And I stopped asking for help. I decided that day to go it alone. Anybody else ever do that? Saying, you know what, screw it, I don't need your help. I did that. As I did that, I did end up academically succeeding, and I went on to earn my master's degree in speech language pathology. The toll that it took was far greater than you can imagine. It's way more than late nights, mixed with 5-hour energy shots and caffeine pills. And it became an eating disorder that spiraled into a completely different war on its own. Now, as I'm sitting there in the dentist chair, thinking, how did it get this bad? I realized my biggest mistake. And it was thinking that I had to do it alone. That going alone and doing it by myself meant strength, versus what it actually truly means in this world. Asking for help is strength. When I realized that, I had realized it at this exact moment. Thankfully, the vicious voices had retreated because of the pounding headache that I had, and I heard this. Maybe there's something you just don't know yet. And in that, I decided to finally reach out to professionals for help. And when I decided to do that, my entire world shifted. Thanks to the wonderful World Wide Web, I was able to meet a professional who helped me dramatically shift my entire life. And that professional introduced me to a technique that also changed my life. Now, how many of you have ever been overwhelmed by negative thoughts, and before you know it, you are down a spiral and, oh my God, this is taking me out for days? Yep, I've been there, absolutely. What I have learned is that building a toolkit is incredibly helpful. This technique that I'm going to share with you is part of that toolkit. Something that I didn't understand is that the voices in my head were actually trying to communicate with me. They were doing their best to help me, even though they were dramatically critical and hateful and hurtful, and I would feel so bad all the time. The second lesson that I learned is that the voices in my head were doing their best to be helpful to me. And I also didn't understand that my body was trying to communicate with me. Do you all know this? The feelings in our body are actually signals, quite literally saying, excuse me, there's something here that needs your attention. I didn't understand that. Was anybody else surprised when they learned that? I was shocked, had no idea. Did not get a lot of information about what my emotions are doing. So once I had understood They're trying to help me. That is where it all shifted. And this technique that I'm going to share with you is the catalyst that helped us figure out where these emotions are stored within the body. I like to think of this technique as the remote control to your inner world, helping you dial down that negative self-talk and letting you turn up the volume on that positive, supportive self-talk that you have always wanted. That was my second lesson, was that these voices were trying to help me. I'm going to jump ahead for a second. Now, this technique operates on the groundbreaking idea that our memories are malleable. We can actually shift them and change them, allowing ourselves to feel better and then even better. Did you know this? Your body is actually 100% memory. The experiences that you're going through in your life are getting stored in your body. And as they're getting stored in your body, not only is this experience getting stored in your body, what does that actually look like? It looks like the sound, the smell, the taste, the experience, what you saw. All this information is getting stored in your body. When you're having certain experiences, has anybody ever been in a fight with anybody? Like in a disagreement, straight up disagreement? You get that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach? That's your body communicating with you, quite literally saying, we don't like this feeling, but this is where we've stored all of your information about fights. So as you're experiencing life, as you're having fights and disagreements with people, it's getting stored in that area, which is why the feeling is intensifying over time. So one of the other things, sorry, I'm going to take a drink. When that happens, the other positive to it is, as you experience life, you have really good experiences. For example, anybody have a great experience that they really liked? Like what? Skydiving. That's a great one. How about another happy memory? Anybody? Skiing. Fantastic. Lots of happy memories with that one. Getting married. Having a wedding. Absolutely. Flying an airplane. Got some really exciting ones over there. That's fantastic. As these, what's that? But if we like the excitement, we like the adrenaline. So as we're experiencing those things, they're getting stored in our body also, and that's really, really great. What's important is being able to find where those emotions are stored and clear them out. For example, if you start to ask yourself, or even say to yourself, I'm a millionaire, and you might not be a millionaire, but you might get this icky feeling that comes up going, no, that's not true. There is where you're holding that information. There's where you're holding this limiting belief. So it's truly important to be the detective of this information. Why am I feeling this way? What else is going on? How else can I figure this out? When we're talking, especially when we're talking to ourselves, and you're noticing these feelings coming up, this technique will help you understand where you stored it, how you stored it, and then how to reframe it, how to make it better so that it's ultimately serving you. So, without further ado, would you guys like to experience this technique for yourself?
Sure. Yeah.
Great! I invite you all to stand up. What was that? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't. Lesson 1 was that I realized reaching out to professionals was very helpful. And lesson 2 was that my body was communicating with me. Thank you. I'd like you all to take a deep breath in and let that breath out with a sigh. There you go. And when you're ready, simply close your eyes. Quick side note for those on the recording, if you're driving, please stop listening to this. For everyone else, I invite you to travel back through your memories to a special time when you received a gift from a very special someone. No matter how long ago it was, notice that moment where you saw that gift and you knew it was for you. Notice the feeling of where it came from in your body. And with one hand, I invite you to place one hand where you feel that feeling now. Beautiful job. As you do, notice the intensity of the feeling. Next, with the other hand, I invite you to reach out in front of you and touch where that picture is with the other hand. There you go. Next, I invite you to trace the edges of that picture just so you know how big it is with both hands. You take both hands and trace the edges with that picture. There you go. Notice the smells in this memory. Notice the picture of who's standing there with you. Notice the taste. Notice the sound. And as you do, notice the feeling of the intensity in your body. Notice that there's a color connected to this feeling. What color might it be? First impression. Next, I want you to notice that there's a texture connected to this feeling. Is it smooth? Is it bumpy? Notice that there's a sound connected to this feeling. Is it loud? Is it soft? As you notice all these characteristics, notice how the intensity of the feeling continues to shift. Next, I invite you to take this picture and I want you to stretch it so that it feels even better to you. And as you do, notice the intensity of the feeling in your body. Lots of smiles. Great. Now, for the sake of our exercise, we're going to do something a little different. I want you to take this picture of yours and I want you to shrink it down so small that it fits in the palm of your hand. Excellent. And on the count of 3, we're going to throw it behind us. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Notice the intensity of the feeling in your body. What happened? Didn't like it. For some of us, it went down, absolutely. But do not worry. In your hand, you have the world's most powerful magnets. And on the count of 3, you're going to take those magnets and you're going to raise them up above your head and you're going to pull that picture back from where it came from. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Boom. There you have it. Your memory. This picture that was so beautiful to you. Next, I want you to do something a little cool. You're going to adjust it again so that it feels even better. Bring it back out in front of you, however big you want to make it, whatever size it is, allowing it to be there. Next, we're going to go ahead and I want you to add anything else to this picture that might make it feel even better. You might add a little more sound, a little more color, whatever will help amplify this feeling. Lots of smiles. You guys are doing great. Next, I want you to allow yourself to transfer this into a glowing orb. And as you do, I want you to hug this orb so tight into you until it melts in completely. Noticing the changes in your body. Don't try to manage or control it, simply allowing it to happen. And as these new changes take place, as this feeling grows and grows and gets stronger and stronger with every beat of your heart and every breath you take, notice the intensity as it grows stronger and stronger, allowing any area of tension or tightness to completely melt away so that it never feels the same again. Now when you have it so strong, so deep that nothing in the world can turn it off, not even you, I want you to go ahead and give it a little test. Try to turn it off. Go back to the way that you were before. And when you notice it will not budge, stop testing. You just learned that you have control over your thoughts. You are able to modify, amplify, reduce and reposition your thoughts and feelings. Whenever you're ready, simply open your eyes and notice how good you feel. There you go. You have the ability, you guys are welcome to sit down. Thank you so much. You have the ability to do this anytime, anywhere, and for any reason you choose. Can anyone think of how they might use this in their life? When might it be helpful to use this? It got quiet. It wasn't chatter. Nice. Got quieter. Great. Anyone else? When might this be helpful? When are you noticing that these thoughts are creeping in? How about maybe when you get triggered? Absolutely. When you get triggered, I'm going to share with you a very cool protocol, what to do when you're triggered, when you're activated. How about maybe going to sleep or even setting your day up? What might you want it to look like? Create that future memory and step into it. Enhance it. Allow yourself to get your body involved. A lot of the time we can be doing these things when we're sitting down and when we're disconnected. The important thing is to get your body involved, start moving your physiology, and make sure that you can actually notice it. The beauty with this technique is that it allows us to quite literally somatically connect with our nervous system. We're constantly communicating with ourselves. We are communicating with ourselves all of the time. But when we think of communication, what do we really think of? Speaking. Anybody else? We all kind of think of communication as speaking. Listening, that's a great one, absolutely. Okay? When we're communicating, a lot of the time people think that it's verbal. Our nervous system is designed differently. Our nervous system doesn't understand our words. Our nervous system is born being able to understand colors, textures, sounds, smells. Our nervous system communicates in this way. That's the important thing, is that when we're noticing, when you say, oh, let's visualize, allow yourself to connect with it. When you connect with your nervous system, when you're noticing those icky feelings, when you're noticing those positive feelings, notice them and either reduce them if they're less than positive or amplify them if they're positive. This is the somatic bridge to where you specifically store information. My heartbreak might be sitting in my stomach, or somebody else's heartbreak might be sitting in their chest. My bad time might be a pain in my neck. Somebody else's bad time might be a pain in their back. It is unique to each of us. We have all experienced our own life from our own perspective in our own way. To generalize a technique is one thing. This technique is sharing with you how you know where and how you stored it. That is a complete game changer. Because you can ask your client, is this feeling inside or outside? Is this feeling heavy or is it light? Is this feeling smooth or is it bumpy? Asking them specific questions of where they stored it, and then helping them resolve whatever's connected to that feeling. This technique was extraordinarily powerful for me. There were multiple things. So I had mentioned, as we experience life, getting captured in sounds and smells and feelings and tastes. While I was experiencing an eating disorder, I could not tell you one thing that activated it. I could tell you I was having a great day, and before you knew it, I was in a hole. For me, I would go for periods of time not eating, only to end up binging on a variety of sweets later, which then I would chew and spit out. That was a big problem. You could imagine that really dominating somebody's life. Couldn't tell you how it started, couldn't tell you how to stop it. Have you ever been spinning your wheels and just going over and over and going, how do I get out of this loop from hell? I have no idea what's stuck. I've been there for sure. Completely. And when you don't know what's going on, when you're having these behaviors, or when you're saying, this is a pattern, how do I break the pattern? And you're trying these other tools. The good thing is that it's quite literally showing you we're not there yet. Something is missing. This helps us connect with that information. The technique that I am trained in is called holographic memory resolution. And this technique was developed by a man named Brent Baum, who, among many spectacular things, is also a licensed addictions counselor. This technique has been used with individuals who experienced 9/11, who've experienced PTSD, who've experienced addictions of all sorts. This technique is so impressively powerful that my coach was walking me through the technique, it became quite apparent that this is now something I need to do with my life. That is how powerful this is. I've used this with my clients who are stuttering, who are post-stroke, who are experiencing heartbreak. And the beauty is that now we're even finding the science-based information about this technique. Earlier last year, in the Journal of Psychiatric Research and Clinical Practice, researchers found incredible evidence of the effectiveness of this technique. People were reporting increased well-being, reduced levels of anxiety, and an overall reduction in their PTSD symptoms. Because what's happening? We're communicating with the nervous system in the way that is effective and impactful for that individual. A lot of the time, we do go back to our memories. What was happening? What else was going on? And what we're also finding, I don't know if I'm the only one, at least in my experience, generational information. I didn't directly experience certain things, but as people are walking me through the techniques, I'm experiencing that. And I'm noticing, okay, it's not mine, but now I have the opportunity to clear it because something else is going on and it's holding me back. Our memories, these limitations, these ideas, these perceptions that we've had can hold us back. I can remember when I was 6 years old, my dad's telling me about money as I'm sitting on the couch. When I cleared that memory, I went up $20,000 literally within the week. It was incredibly powerful because what we're doing is we're shifting that perception of that information that we have experienced. As we tune into our bodies, which has this information, it allows us to shift that perception, to allow us to mold and modify that memory in a way that serves us. Anybody have any questions so far? Yes, Mark. Holographic memory resolution. Anybody else have any questions? Yes. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Completely. For that, allow what I like to do, and I've absolutely, the question was, what do I do if I don't know the details of where I'm storing it? And then I end up judging myself. Completely have been there. Absolutely. The technique app that I'm going to also share with you, it can be done by yourself. I can teach you how to do this. Another thing that I also offer to people is being the driver and the passenger of your own car can be a little tricky. As you allow somebody to help guide you through so that you can learn how you operate is incredibly beneficial. One thing when I would experience that, and I often tell my clients this, give yourself permission to be present. Give yourself permission to be incorrect and give yourself permission to settle in. Because a lot of the time, especially in at least in the Northeast, we're going, and everything's on speed and it can't be done fast enough and it can't be done well enough and da-da-da-da-da. When we can actually quiet that part out and say, okay, for 15 minutes, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes or 5 minutes. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to allow myself permission to be here. It really starts us to be able to shift our perception. One thing that I often share with people is change your language, change your life. Why might that be? And the movie we're absolutely playing in our head. But it's really difficult to go from, for me, if I was thinking, I'm stupid, I'm smart. No, you're not. Like, that voice would come up, absolutely. When we have these critical things, and it's more than shifting our language, it's noticing the things we're saying in the background. And that's where I found the power in this technique in the next protocol that I'm going to share with you. We are communicating with ourselves. And when we can notice the other things that we're saying to ourselves, versus, I'm so smart, 5%. No, you're not, 95%. That's a big difference. When I was able to start moving this part, noticing it, talking to it, modifying it, manipulating it, that's where it started to massively shift. Why might I think that? What might have occurred that I'm thinking this way? Who might have taught me this? A lot of the time, I'll even walk my clients all the way back. Were you born with this? More often than not, they tell me no. They learned it somewhere along the line. If you imagine yourself, and this is where we start to really allow ourselves to play inside the playground of our mind. Imagine yourself as a baby. Who is there? Who might have shared this information with you? How might have you learned to think like this? And if you might have learned to think like this, how might else you learn to think? We can absolutely model excellence, and that is a great thing. The money, the gold, the massive change that we are craving, that we're desiring, that we're needing, all is within us. That is the beauty of also working with people who are specialists in this. They have worked with people and they have also held space. Does anyone really understand what holding space means to somebody? Or I know it's becoming a hot trending word to hold space. As I had not understood this word.
My understanding of it was like, so this Connie held space for me. So I did my own work on myself.
Yeah.
I did a havening technique on myself.
Wow.
And she watched me doing it. She held space for me.
That's
I
beautiful.
wanted somebody to do it with me.
Yes.
So is that what you mean by holding space?
It's holding space, having somebody be there to support you.
Yeah, through it.
And
give me the energy. And, just
the energy,
yeah.
completely.
Yeah,
And
love.
the love.
Oh, baby, you're there you go.
Absolutely. And it's a different kind of love. When you're working with a coach, and this goes, whether you're working with a practitioner, a coach, anybody else, this is something that I share with people because I'm extraordinarily passionate about it. Rapport is the most important thing. If you have a connection with that person, that is who your person is. That's going to be the person that's going to most benefit you. If you're feeling, hey, I sat with him for a little bit, we had a nice conversation, it just wasn't for me, that's okay. A lot of the time we'll go to these one or two things and we'll, oh, that wasn't for me. It's not that it wasn't for you. It just may have not been your person. When we're holding space for somebody, especially the way that Connie was able to do it, the way that you're able to do it, the way that we're able to do it as practitioners, it means that we've gone that deep for ourselves. And we're able to quite literally support somebody else in that space without judgment, without rushing them, without asking, well, can you move this along? They are completely, entirely present with you in that moment. And that is the greatest blessing. It's incredibly powerful, but that's also the two of you communicating in an extraordinarily powerful way to your nervous system that allows your nervous system to calm down and to release whatever is being held there that it does not need. I know my friend over here mentioned about athletes. When you're with athletes, what are some of the things that they notice, or some of the complaints that they share with you, the worries, the fears? And it gets hard. Absolutely. Eliminate. Absolutely. When, especially because sometimes I think, I don't mean to personally generalize, Females have a little bit easier of a time of tuning into their body. I will say there was a time that I could not tune into my body, and I could only tell you that I needed to go carry out a behavior because I was rushing away from my feelings. And as I would rush away from my feelings, there was so much chaos going on in here. When you're noticing that, and when you're with your clients, allowing them to say, okay, where might you feel it? First impression. And even if you feel like you're making it up, that's okay. Just notice where it might be. They might say their head, great. How young might you be when you first notice this feeling? And a lot of the time it does go back to memory, things that were in our past, because that's where that information got captured. Tomorrow, I'm actually teaching a bit more of an in-depth class on holographic memory resolution. I had to watch my time for a second. I thought it was 2:30. So tomorrow I'm teaching it on holographic memory resolution, and there are sequences of questions that we ask our clients, because what we're doing as we're tuning into this, we're not leading the client. We're asking them how they stored it. If I said, okay, well, now you feel this in your chest. They might have felt it in their stomach. I don't know. As you're asking them to tune in, what's important is the memory that's coming up. I'm 3 years old. I'm 5 years old. My coach is yelling at me. My father is yelling at me. My mom is screaming at me. Somebody else is in that picture with them, and that's where we need to go. When we can get back to that source, that memory, and there might be a couple of things attached to it, but as we heal our memories, cutting anchors at massively rapid rates. And it's extraordinary to see that when you cut these anchors, when you quite literally resolve what's going on, when you're noticing this discomfort, where might you be? They may say nothing. Okay, well, what do I do now? What color is connected to it? First impression. Black. Great. What color might make it feel better? Blue. Blue, it is. Great. Breathe blue through that space. As they're breathing blue, at least for 50 repetitions, because this will go into the subconscious. As they're breathing blue, they're going to start shifting. This is simply how the nervous system filed it. That's all. Go ahead. I do. Absolutely. Especially with children, they get really good at it because they can be really creative. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be happy to talk with her. Oh, I'm so glad. Absolutely, Connie. My understanding is that it's rooted in simply how the nervous system filed the information. Because as we're going through life and as we're experiencing these things, Brent Baum was the one who had said, I'm treating these patients and they keep coming back to me with the same problems. Something else is going on. When something else is going on, it's simply because this information is still open and activated. Here's a really fun fact for you. For our memory, we go in and out of memory 15 to 50 times an hour. Thought you were mindful, huh? Because what's happening is as we're saying a word, maybe the word is enough. As we're going, oh, yay! As we're talking, we're quite literally activating our own memory. Who said enough? Maybe the emphasis of something, maybe the feeling that came up. All these things are going on. And as we're having our conversations, oh, they said that like my mother. Oh, they reminded me of my best friend. As we're talking, as we're going through our conversations, this information is running in the background. Especially what's really fun and exciting, when you have a negative thought, you know what your brain does? They want more. And they amplify more negative thoughts. When you're stuck in a spiral and it seems like it's getting worse, okay, how do we stop the pattern? How do we navigate this? When we can interrupt it, I like to call this, I gave you a handout. If you don't have a handout, by all means, reach out or I will pass you one. I like to call this the CARE protocol. and it's on your hand for a reason. When you can care enough about how you feel, that's when you start to master the art of positive self-talk. It's so important to you that you quite literally C-A-R-E. You care about how you feel, and that's amazing. What you're quite literally doing is saying, I want to take care of me so much that I'm going to acknowledge these thoughts that are just thoughts. Sometimes they can feel really, really intense, and you can go down a rabbit hole, and I have been there, and I have, you know, when you thought there was a rock bottom, and then suddenly you got dropped another 15 levels, and you're like,
Oh,
shit,
yeah.
I thought I was at a rock bottom. I hit more rock bottoms than I could possibly tell you. I have cried on the floor in hysterical in the privacy of my own home while my husband was away and while I was actively, effectively hiding everything from him. Not a proud moment. It's simply a moment. I had to care. I had to get to that point that said, I can't keep going like this, or this will destroy me. When you're having suicidal thoughts, yes, it's not fun. Yes, I have been there. And no, you don't have to get to that point to say, you know what, I kind of want to change something. You don't have to go there. You can care enough about how you feel. This technique that I call care, have compassion for yourself. When you can allow yourself to step into that moment that says, you know what, I'm going to care so much about how I feel that whatever is coming up, I'm going to start talking to myself with a little more compassion, with a little more kindness. What else is happening? My picture. Okay, so this approach, as we're talking with ourselves with compassion, I like to think of somebody who may be kind to me in that moment. It might not always be the same person. It might be me. It might be somebody else that's going to come into that moment with me. As I'm caring for myself, quite literally, this is, and I don't think the culture really supports this. They're like, oh, just think positive thoughts and you'll be fine. We have to process our emotions. And however we process our emotions is great, as long as it works for you. This is a technique that I teach my students, that I teach my clients. When you can have compassion for yourself, when you can step into that moment and say, all right, let's talk. Notice the color that's coming, that's integrating between the two of you, whether you're talking kindly to yourself or this version of you is completely volatile. Have compassion. Talk to me. When we're communicating, something that a lot of people might not notice, when we're communicating, yes, we're communicating with our face and our body, our tone. A lot of the time, your athletes might have this really harsh tone. When you're negative, when you're in a spiral, what's your tone like? Not always the most gentle. When you're having compassion with yourself, this doesn't have to be like, oh, you're so sweet, you're so cute. Have compassion to yourself and just talk to me. What do I need right now? What else is going on? As we increase our awareness of the conversation that we're having, what you're going to notice is that the feeling's going to start to shift. Allowing it to be there, allowing yourself to process the emotion that's coming from you will effectively shift what is going on. That awareness, that ability to say, what might I need to learn? What do I need to be curious about in this picture? How might I not be so judgmental? If I was not judging myself, what might this perspective be trying to share with me? It's basically something that wants to tell you some piece of information, and this is how they're trying to get your attention. Well, that would have been a lot more helpful when I was a lot younger. When we start to reframe it, again, as you're adding color to this, you're going to notice that the feeling's going to shift. Allow yourself to just notice the color. Maybe it's the sound. Maybe it's the texture. It's the characteristic of wherever you're holding it. And when you had mentioned, I might not notice it completely. I know the big cardinal rule is you don't help family and friends. You don't share this with family and friends because they're going to think that you're trying to fix them and all these other things, of which that's true. I'm not going to disagree with it. So my husband will often tell me, when we're walking in the woods, He's most receptive to this. And he goes, I don't know, Lenore, it's in my head. Okay, great, it's in your head. As you're starting to talk to this, he's spectacular, I promise. But when he's all twirly, he doesn't want me to try and help him at all. But as he's talking, he starts to share the rest of the features of it. And you'll start to notice these other characteristics that are coming up with it. And as you do, it might simply start by reframing. What else might I need to know? What does my athlete really need to hear right now? That person that they're 5 years old and they're talking to, what does a 5-year-old want to say back to them? What do they want to hear from that person? Do we need to take them completely out of the room and bring in somebody else? As we start to play with these, it really shifts everything. And then as we add color, what we're doing is we're restoring balance to the nervous system, whether it's color, sound, a symbol, anything that comes to them. It might be a gold star. It might be a red apple. What we're doing is restoring information that is specific to that person. If I said, okay, well, great, put a gold star there, they may say, gold star is not my thing, and it doesn't lock in. Why doesn't it lock in? It's because it has to be specific to that person. When I'm working with my clients, what might make you feel better? What might you have want to say? What might you want to share? What might help this situation? And as they do, because what they're doing ultimately is they're going back through their memory and they're reframing it. They're shifting the picture. They're modifying it. And that's where the resolve comes in. Yeah. Absolutely. You're all in trance with me anyway. Yes, absolutely. But it's also, the beauty of it is that it's non-disclosure. If they're telling me that I don't want to tell you what happened, no problem. Simply follow directions. What might make it feel better? Is there a color that might help? Is there a sound that might help? What do you want to say? I had a client, and I do this on Zoom, so I don't actually, I can have the ability to sit with clients, but I also have clients in New Zealand, and it's a little bit harder to navigate to their property each time. When I'm asking them, I had them simply have a conversation. What do you want to say back to them? As they're sharing this information, as they're sending this energy, as they're sharing a sound, as they're leaving the room, whatever it is, they can be quiet for 20 minutes. And what I'm doing is holding space, letting them be there, letting them be present and do the work that needs to be done that will cut the anchor, ultimately resolving what was lost and restoring what was lost. Really, truly powerful. Any other questions? Any thoughts so far? Okay. So as we're doing this, so with my clients, and this is actually a technique that I share in my program. I apologize to the gentleman. The program that I'm offering now is only for women. And it's called In Her Thoughts, and it's Mastering the Art of Positive Self-Talk. I do also work one-on-one with clients. So gentlemen, if you would like to work together, I am absolutely available. I do encourage people, figure out who's right for you. I would not have been able to do the work that I needed to do if I was by myself. I tried it for a lot of years. And it was because I was trying to be the driver and the passenger at the same time. If anybody's new to hypnosis, or if you've been around for a while and you want to try a new technique, I can absolutely walk you through a technique in a moment. We'll do the care protocol because I still have time, which is a great thing. When you're doing things for yourself, start at lower levels. Don't throw the biggest, ugliest experience of your life at a new technique. Your brain does not have the information needed to see if this is going to work. You might have information stored that says, I tried it once and it didn't work out for me, and your brain may categorize it in the same way. So when we do a technique, start at a 2 or a 3. Start at a lower level. Okay? Would you guys like to do the care protocol together? Great. All right. When you're ready, take a deep breath in. You're welcome to sit or you're welcome to stand. It does not matter at this point. You seem all quite comfy, but if you're wanting to stand up, go right ahead. Deep breath in and let that breath out with a sigh, allowing yourself to relax. Perfect. I want you to go back through your memory to a time where maybe you were speaking a little harshly to yourself and you had that negative self-talk going on. May have been recent, may have been earlier today, may have been a week ago. Doesn't matter. Just pick one that's at a 2 or a 3. What I want you to do first, simply allow yourself permission to enter this picture. Notice where you are. Notice if you were with anybody or if you were by yourself. And as you start to notice where you are, notice the thought that was coming up. Notice maybe what you were saying to yourself. Start to allow yourself compassion. What might be going on in this picture? Maybe you're really stressed at work. Maybe you were angry. Maybe something else was going on. Notice the color in this picture as you do, and notice that it's connected to a feeling in your body. Allow yourself to have awareness. Be curious. What might you need to know in this moment? What might you want to tell yourself in this moment? What might be important for you to remember about this? As you do, notice the feeling in your body. Notice the color. Maybe there's a texture. Maybe there's a sound. Allow yourself to start manipulating it in such a way that it's helpful. How might I reframe this? How might I see this differently? How might I use this experience to serve me? As you do, notice the color. Notice how things are shifting. And for empowerment, what might you like to see happen in the future? What might you like to experience moving forward? Creating a future memory of how you talk to yourself. And as you do, notice the color. Notice how it's shifted as you're reframing your own thoughts. Continue to breathe that color through. Allowing it to get stronger. Noticing that you're allowed to have compassion for yourself. That you're allowed to care so much about how you feel. That this becomes the most important thing. Because when you care about how you feel, you move through the world differently. You feel differently. You care about what you're thinking, and you care about how you're thinking. Things get better. And then they get even better. And if you're ready, allow yourself to come back to this moment here and now. Open your eyes. Big stretch. What did you notice? Got lighter. Energy got lighter and brighter. Lighter and brighter. Energy got lighter and brighter. Anybody else? Color changed. Excellent. When the color changed, how did you feel? Sorry, Karen. Excellent. Evolved in color. And it felt really nice. Excellent. An aha moment. Woohoo! We love those. Feeling lighter, feeling better, allowing it to change. Anybody else? Unlocking. Great. And when it unlocks, what does that do for you? More space and openness. We love that. It's quite literally our body communicating to us. Yay! I can breathe again. Loves it. It is quite literally cleaning and caring for how we feel. And that is extraordinarily powerful. Does anybody have any questions so far? The one thing that I like to do, especially, this is great, and feel free to share this with your clients, when you're going to sleep. Anybody struggle with going to sleep at night? Oh yeah, I've been there for sure. When you're allowing yourself to do this, allow yourself to tune into your body. Use this for when you're going to sleep. Notice the color or colors, notice the sounds, notice the senses, textures. Just tune into your body. And as you do, what color might I need right now to restore how I feel? What color might I need? Might be colors might I need to help me sleep soundly through the night, to allow myself to wake up feeling rested and excited about tomorrow. As you do, breathe those colors through your body. Especially if you think of it almost like a shower, allowing yourself to clear off the things that you no longer need for that day, allowing yourself to release anything that's stored there. As we do, whether it's color, whether it's sound, whether it's texture, the beauty is, again, we're communicating with our nervous system in the language that it speaks. That's why it's so powerful. When we wake up in the morning, or even if we're preparing before a game, what might I like to see happen for the day? As your future creating, future pacing, using your memory in the future, allow yourself to set your day up. When you're setting your day up, I will add a slight caution. If you're trying to go to sleep, don't think of colors that are going to amp you up. You're going to counteract it. Think of things that are going to calm you down. Add in sound, add in textures that are going to quite literally wrap you in that deep sleep that you want, that restful sleep that you want, that peaceful sleep that you want. When it's first thing in the morning, as you're waking up, what might I like to see happen today? Before you run through your to-do list, how do you want to feel? I want to feel good. I want to feel happier. I want to feel bright. I want to see people that are laughing. I want to see people. I want to brighten people's days. Great. What color might that be for you? What you're going to do is you're going to calibrate your nervous system to feeling better. You're going to calibrate it in such a way that you're going to end up moving through the world in a much better way, because you're creating future memories, whether it's past memories or future memories, you're doing it either way. And when you start to create future memories, and when you start to clean up your past memories, everything shifts. You start to move through the world differently. Food tastes better. Your mindset is more clear. Sex gets even better. There are so many benefits to truly figuring out how we can care for ourselves and then how we want to care as we move throughout the world. Does anybody have a limiting belief about money? I certainly have had plenty of limiting beliefs about money. As you're coming up with your whether it's a limiting belief or, hey, that's a negative thought, or, hey, I'm stuck in a spiral, what might I need right now? Another great thing to do is, let's say you want to sit down and sometimes manifesting is a really big thing, or I want to think about money. I want to sit down and I want to get clear about money. And you sit down, bless you, bless you. You sit down with the best intentions. And before you know it, you have these ick feelings and you're avoiding the task. Anybody ever avoid a task? I certainly have avoided plenty of tasks. Become the detective of what you're noticing about your behavior. If you're avoiding it, why? When you can become curious, when we can start noticing and saying, rather than going, oh, I messed up again, I avoided that again, or I procrastinated that again, I'm such a procrastinator. Get curious. Why might I be procrastinating? Well, I really don't want to do this. Okay, why might I not really want to do this? Because if I have to do this, it means that I have to do this. Okay, great. As we're having these conversations with ourselves, when we're mastering the art of positive self-talk, you're allowing yourself to have the conversation that's going on in your head. We're already talking to ourselves all the time. I once had a friend, he sadly has since passed, and I had said, I'm talking to myself like a crazy person. And he goes, Lenora, you're always talking to yourself. Who do you think you're talking to inside? It's like, fair. So when you're having these conversations, allow there to be a version of you that's curious, that's not judging, that's open to saying, okay, so you're feeling a little ashamed right now. Okay, yeah, that I can understand that. That sucks. I hate being there. What do we want to do about it? What are we really ashamed about? There are plenty of things that are quite literally stored within us. And if we can be curious about it, we can start to shift our experience of it. Sometimes it might be going back to when we're 12 years old. Sometimes it might be going back 2 weeks. It meant this about me. Oh, okay, if it meant that about you, then what else might it mean about you? What else is going on? As we're being that detective for ourselves, we're able to clear up what is really holding us back. I didn't experience life the way that you experienced. You didn't experience life the way that I experienced. When we can get curious about it, when we can really start saying, okay, well, I wonder why I'm thinking that way. I'm wondering what happened. And start noticing these beliefs that are coming up. Who else was involved? Who might need to be there to help me through this? What might I need to know to get over this? We can start getting really, really good at cutting those limiting beliefs, at cutting that negative self-talk, and allowing ourselves to feel the way we know what we want to feel and that we can feel. Anybody have any questions so far? Not yet? Okay. The other thing was, anybody ever feel like they're not worthy? Oh yeah, for sure. I've definitely been there. When we're noticing that, start getting more specific about your language. When we can start shifting our language, again, we're communicating. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming. When we can get curious about our language, adding words like might, adding words like yet, adding words like, what else could it be? Shifts so much. I'm not worthy. Okay, what might I not be worthy of? I'm not worthy. Well, that can be really specific. I'm not worthy, period. Whew. We have a huge chunk here. What am I not worthy of? Am I worthy of breathing? Well, yeah, I guess because I'm here. Am I worthy of eating? There was a point in my life where I did not think I was worthy of eating. That's a problem. How I solved it wasn't as effective until I started working with somebody. Because when you're working with somebody, and if you're ever working with a coach of any sort or somebody else, or if you're thinking about working with a coach, the huge difference is, I have a problem, can you help me? Not, you're the problem. you have a problem. You're asking for assistance. When we can start noticing that, oh, I'm not a piece of shit. Oh, it's not that I'm entirely unworthy. I'm just experiencing this. This happens to be a feeling. We get that ability to step away from it slightly and hold it out in front of us. Sometimes there are these techniques that'll move it away so far, but it'll come so quickly back because it's important to us. We have lessons, we have information in that experience that we're not prepared to let go of yet. When we can let go of what's holding us back, we've officially restored what was missing. We gave it the missing pieces, whether it was color, whether it was sound, whether it was love, and it appeared to you as a color or a symbol. When we can actually have it completely release, it's because we restored something. We cleared something out, we put something better in its place. That is a huge difference. That's another reason why rapport is so important when you're working with somebody else. Oh, it's time? Oh, yeah, thank you. No, you're good, you're good. Thank you, I appreciate that. You're good. That's why it's so important. Anybody else have any questions so far? No, we're good? When we can care so much about how we communicate with ourselves, this is where we start to shift massively. Our relationships get better. A lot of the time when we're in a disagreement with somebody, they're talking, and as they're doing, I think I just got in a disagreement with my husband the other day about, I don't even remember what it was about, but what was going on is that I was in the background thinking that I wasn't good enough because I didn't clean something good enough. And it's just a fleeting thought, but it also spiraled into a fight that I had started. I don't usually start them. I'm usually the much calmer one. I started this one because all I heard when somebody shouted to me was something about cleaning. And he had made a joke about it. And boy, did I take the joke the wrong way. I have a tendency to do that. And because of that, I then had to notice, Lenora, nobody said anything. This was your interpretation of how he said something. Having that ability will help you quite literally have disagreements more effectively because you're not pointing a finger at the other person. This will spiral into your ability to hold a conversation on difficult things. Being able to have boundaries and notice, oh, that's not what they said, or this is what they're trying to do. I need to have that boundary. This will help you hold your boundaries much more strongly. There are people that you might know that you have great boundaries with. You're so proud of yourself. And then you go to somebody else in your family and you're like, shit, what happened to the boundary? When that happens, that's okay. It just simply means that it's a little bit weaker with that individual that you're with. How can you strengthen that? What else do you need to know? 5 years ago, I could not hold a boundary to save my life. 5 years ago, the idea of standing up here wasn't even an idea because that's how paralyzing public speaking was to me. I would even sit in the back of the room. No, I wouldn't sit in the back of the room. My girlfriends in graduate school would sit in the back of the room holding signs that said slow down because all I wanted to do was get away from there as far as possible. When you can start to notice these ick feelings, these negative thoughts that are coming up that are holding you back, and you know they're holding you back because you're like, I'd love to do that. I can't. Something else is going on. That's okay. Be the detective of it. Get curious about it. Allow yourself to really start moving in the direction that says, this is holding me down, but I know that there's a solution for it. I know there's a key for it. I know there's resolution for it. Makes a huge difference. We did that one. Any other questions or answers? Any questions or answers? Any other questions? None right now? Welcome you all to visit my website. There are 2 free books on there. One is Understanding Holographic Memory Resolution, of which I wrote with Brent Baum. It is a published book and it is a free book, and it is extraordinarily helpful in understanding Holographic Memory Resolution. The other book is The Power of Words. Did anybody ever hear of questioning affirmations? Affirmations for me were really, really tough because I would say, I'm smart. No, you're not, Lenora. Wouldn't resonate with me. When I started to shift it into questions and improve my ability to ask questions, it got a lot better. The book that's there, The Power of Words, another book that I wrote, and, excuse me, sorry, burping. Excuse me. What's that? Oh, I think I've heard that one, but no, I was burping.
I love the honesty.
It was a quiet one. When I'm clearing something, it's really attractive. Purple. The Power of Words is another book that I wrote, and it's got a slew of questioning affirmations, ones that I like to set my day up for success. This becomes an art when you make it a part of your day. It's not I did it 5 minutes this morning and I'm good. Allow yourself to care about how you're thinking, and before you know it, you're really going to be extremely exquisite at this skill. You're coaching yourself, you're teaching yourself, you're helping yourself. You're not beating yourself up, you're not condemning yourself, you're not putting yourself in jail and telling yourself all these other harsh things that we have the ability to tell ourselves. The great thing is that we have that ability to tell ourselves that, which means we can be that dark. It also means we can be this supportive, we can be this uplifting, and it is completely within our power to practice the art of it on a daily basis. When you shift your questions, what might I be wanting right now? What might be more helpful right now? What do I really need right now? And sometimes it's a break from everybody. Give yourself permission to go do that. Give yourself permission to step away and to care so much about how you feel that you actually will then be able to contribute the way you want. You'll be able to show up in your relationships the way that you want. It's a huge, huge shift. Allow yourself permission to take care of yourself. My course, In Her Thoughts, actually starts for the ladies, starts March 21st, and it is a 6-week course that I'm teaching all about more of these techniques, including the CARE protocol. Feel free to share it with your friends. It is a completely amazing investment. I highly recommend it. I'm extraordinarily proud of it. And it is a foundation of everything that I've created, of everything that I've learned, over, I want to say 15 years. Started learning this stuff when I was 21, and I'm 38 now. So we're a little beyond 15. But I'm very proud of it, and I hope that you will consider joining and being a part of it. If you'd like to work one-on-one with me, you have my business card now. Feel free to scan it, and we can absolutely work together. I love being able to help people shift in ways that are important to them. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Yes.
How do you use that? Right. Like, how did you go from
When we're starting to play with language, especially when it comes to little ones, her question was, how do we help little ones improve their language? And if we say, oh, you're so smart, and they go, oh, no, I'm not. Or if the little one is saying, I'm smart, no, I'm not, what else can we do? I like to really go back to basics and say, do you remember when you first started to learn to walk? And they'll say, no. Well, did you know how smart you are because you were able to help yourself stand up and walk? Or something like feeding themselves, or if it's a game. Do you remember when you couldn't play Donkey Kong at all and you picked up the remote? And going back to simple things and asking, do they remember? And then showing them, oh, well, you learned how to do that. Be like, oh, ask mommy or daddy if they have a picture of you or if they have a video of you first feeding yourself. Now I bet you can do it with a spoon, because what they'll be able to do is notice, oh, I couldn't do that, but I can do that now. And I have one child that I work with online for a variety of things. And his favorite thing to say to me is, this is too hard. This is too hard. I don't like this. This is hard. And say, that's okay, because we can do hard things. And if I'm working with him on a sound or something else, oh, you did it. Look at that. You can do hard things. And helping to build that connection between their words. When we can use their words with them, that creates even deeper rapport, because I'm not saying you're smart if they're saying that this is too hard. I'm saying, oh, we can do hard things. And then I actually make it a cheer, and I get them to say at the end, oh, are you proud of yourself today? They'll say, yeah. What are you proud of? And sometimes they don't know. They don't know how to say what they're proud of. And when I'll say, oh, are you proud that you had your listening ears on today and that you did your best? Oh, I'm proud that I listened. And then they start to realize, oh, listening is something I can be proud of. Some people are growing up in homes where they don't know that it's a good thing to be proud of. They don't know that it's a good thing to be excited. And when we can share that with them, we're giving them that gift, we're giving them that permission, and we're also helping to fire and wire those neurons so that they recognize it more frequently. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Chronic migraines. Absolutely. We actually have absolutely. Yeah. His question was, can this technique be used with individuals who are experiencing migraines? And the answer is absolutely. We actually have a migraine protocol that we use very specifically. We use this technique to reframe asthma attacks, to reframe post-surgery experiences. When the doctor's saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with your knee, everything's operating correctly, but there's pain. We've used this technique to reframe the experience, even when the individual is having pain and the nerve was severed. There is still pain that this individual was experiencing. We went back, we reframed it, and that pain resolved because the body remembers. The body's keeping the score. There's a great book by Bessel van der Kolk. Some people may know it. The body keeps the score. And in that, when you can understand your body is experiencing everything that you're experiencing, and that it's capturing it and holding on to it. So those really great memories are there, and those really tough times are there. And that's okay. How can we communicate safety? How can we communicate resolve to the nervous system is what's truly important. As we can communicate resolve, we're able to come back into alignment. Your entire body will rewire itself to match that resolution that it's now received. It's a huge shift, absolutely. Sometimes it is going back to the very first time, even reframing cramps, reframing people who have experienced loss of pregnancy. It's being held within the body. They might not consciously remember. I can tell you my experiences, a number of them I recalled. There were several that I didn't recall. And even though I didn't actively recall them, they were still stored there. Something else was going on. And even just a little bit of information helping to recalibrate the nervous system was able to offer that resolve. And that was something that completely makes a difference, especially in a number of people in their lives, because then they're able to move forward without this experience, without this pain, without this chronic critical voice in their head. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Thank you. 2 minutes. Any other questions? What's that?
I know you just went like that. That's English. That's a swear word. That's like that. You didn't even laugh.
I would not have known that one.
No. Are you English?
No, but I work with a lot of English.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
that's one thing I learned.
That's really funny. I would not have known that.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good. Any other questions? Thank you so much, all of you, for spending time with me. I truly appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.